Captain Elias Vorn stared out through the main viewport of his small starship, the Odyssey, at the endless stretch of dark space. Stars shimmered faintly against the black void, distant suns casting pale light on his face. His ship was alone, drifting in a sector of space few humans had ever dared to explore, the Andari Expanse. It was a place of strange phenomena, where gravity warped in unpredictable ways and signals from nearby systems sometimes vanished without explanation. Elias rubbed his tired eyes. He had been alone in this sector for weeks, charting unknown systems, avoiding space pirates, and testing his endurance. Space travel had always been his dream, but lately it felt more like a punishment than a calling. His friends back on Earth had gone on with their lives. Some had families, others had risen to positions of fame or power. And Elias, he had only the quiet hum of his ship and the endless stars to keep him company. He sank into his chair, letting the silence fill the cabin. Memories of home floated into his mind. Laughter of friends, the smell of rain on Earth's soil, warm sunlight on his skin. For a moment he allowed himself to miss everything he had left behind, but soon he pushed the thoughts away. Sentiment was dangerous in space. It made one slow, distracted, and weak. Elias prided himself on his strength, but deep inside he knew his heart felt empty. That night he lay down in his small bunk. The ship's gentle vibrations were comforting, a quiet rhythm against the loneliness. As he drifted into sleep, he wondered if he would ever feel alive again. He did not notice the subtle change in the sensors, the faint tug in the ship's path, or the light that began to pulse outside the viewport. When Elias woke, he did not immediately recognize where he was. The familiar hum of the Odyssey's engines had changed. The walls of his cabin glowed softly, like living light weaving patterns across the surface. The air felt different, warmer, cleaner, tinged with a faint metallic scent but not unpleasant. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, his mind struggling to make sense of what he saw. Through the window he could see something impossible. The dark void of space had been replaced by a scene that seemed alive. Towering structures of glowing crystal stretched upward, connected by bridges of light that twisted like ribbons in the air. Floating gardens drifted on currents of energy, plants moving as if they were breathing. Small orbs of radiant color hovered nearby, casting dancing lights across the structures. The entire city felt alive watching him. Elias's heart raced. Was this real, or had he dreamed it all? He stood and floated toward the door of his cabin, hand hovering over the control panel. Nothing responded the way it should. Then he felt it, a soft vibration beneath his feet, gentle but undeniable. The floor itself seemed aware of his presence. Before he could react further, a figure appeared. At first he thought it was a hologram, a trick of the mind. But the figure stepped closer, graceful and deliberate, radiating calm authority. It was humanoid in shape, yet unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Her skin shimmered with colors that shifted in patterns like flowing light over liquid. Her eyes were deep and intelligent, reflecting the glow of the city. She moved without sound, and yet her presence was commanding. "You are awake," she said, her voice not heard but felt, a gentle pulse of thought entering his mind. "Do not be afraid, human. You are far from home, yet you are not lost." Elias stumbled back, trying to find his voice. Who are you? What is this place?" "I am Elara," she replied, her thought waves calm and precise. "I am the queen of this world. You were pulled here by forces beyond your understanding, yet by no mistake. You were chosen." Elias's mind raced. Chosen by whom? For what? He opened his mouth to speak, but found that words were almost useless here. Somehow her presence filled the room, conveying meaning, emotion, and clarity that no words could achieve. A strange calm replaced his panic, yet curiosity flared brighter than fear. The queen stepped closer. Her hands, delicate and glowing, hovered near him but did not touch. Elias felt a strange warmth spreading through him. Not physical heat, but a sensation of being acknowledged, seen, understood. For the first time in years, he felt the emptiness inside him shift. "This place, it's alive," Elias whispered. "It moves. It watches." Elara tilted her head slightly. "Yes, everything here is connected. Life here is not divided by species or by will. It exists in balance, aware of those who enter it." Elias floated toward the window again, mesmerized. Tiny beings, some animal-like, some resembling floating crystals, moved gracefully across the city. The light that surrounded them reacted to their motions, forming patterns Elias could only describe as beautiful. Every structure pulsed with rhythm like a living heartbeat. "You brought me here?" he asked cautiously. "I did not bring you," Alara replied. "You were drawn by curiosity, by desire, by the qualities your kind possesses. Strength, courage, and compassion. These are rare in the galaxy, rare even among your own species. You did not come by accident, Elias Vorn. You came because you could." Elias shook his head, trying to comprehend. "I don't understand. I'm just me, a human, alone." Alara's glow intensified, and he felt a wave of emotion, gentle but undeniable. Humans underestimate themselves. You may feel small, alone, and empty, but inside you is a spark. You are capable of seeing the impossible and surviving where others fail. You are not empty, human. You are waiting. Her words struck him deeper than anything he had ever heard. Waiting for what? He did not know. But the emptiness he had felt for so long seemed lighter. There was a sense of purpose he had not felt in years, and it startled him. "Why me?" he asked finally, his voice barely audible. "Because you notice," she said simply. "You see what others ignore. You act when others hesitate. You carry courage quietly, not for glory, but because it is necessary. The galaxy has been watching humanity, observing your species. You are unpredictable. Dangerous perhaps, but also capable of greatness." Elias's mind spun. All his years of exploration, the risks he had taken, the nights of isolation, they suddenly felt meaningful. Perhaps he had been preparing for this without knowing it. Alara moved closer still, her glowing presence surrounding him. Elias felt a mix of awe and caution. I don't know what I can do here. I don't belong." "You belong wherever you choose to act," she said. "You have come far, human. And now your journey continues, not just for yourself, but for something greater. But first, rest. You will need your strength." Elias nodded, unsure how he could sleep after all he had seen. Yet as he lay back, he felt the steady warmth of Alara's presence nearby. His mind, for the first time in a long while, was calm. The emptiness he had carried, the hollow ache of solitude, began to fade. Outside, the city pulsed like a living heartbeat. Inside, a human man who had slept with an empty heart felt the first stirrings of hope. He did not know what awaited him in this world or what trials he would face, but for the first time in years he did not fear the unknown. He felt ready, and as he drifted into sleep once more, he felt something extraordinary. He was not alone. Not entirely. Something or someone was there, and for the first time he was no longer afraid to reach for it. When Elias opened his eyes, the light in the chamber was soft, gentle, and alive. He was no longer in the cramped metallic cabin of the Odyssey. The walls shimmered like liquid crystal, reflecting colors he had never seen before, pale greens that breathed like leaves, blues that rippled like water, and golds that pulsed like sunlight. The air felt fragrant, carrying a faint scent of warm earth mixed with ozone, and it moved as if aware of him. Alara stood at the far end of the chamber, her glowing presence serene and commanding. She smiled. Not a human smile, but one that Elias instinctively understood. It meant welcome and perhaps curiosity. "You have rested," she said, her thoughts weaving into his mind as naturally as a gentle breeze. "Now you will see more. You must understand this world before you can act in it." Elias rose carefully, still feeling the strange sensation that gravity and the air itself seemed to bend around him. I want to understand," he said, "but it's hard to believe any of this is real." Alara moved to a central platform, her form radiating calm authority. With a motion of her hand, the floor beneath them shifted. Soft, translucent paths rose into the air, winding like ribbons to the city outside. Elias stepped onto one and felt it support him like solid ground. The paths led outward, connecting to towers of crystal and light that stretched toward a sky he could not name. "This is my world," Alara said. "It is alive. Every structure, every living being, even the air you breathe is connected. We do not see the world in pieces. We see it as a whole, and we act to maintain balance." Elias marveled at the view. Creatures of light floated in the air. Some shaped like animals he recognized, others completely alien. Some had wings. Others moved by flowing currents of energy. And they all reacted to one another in patterns that were both chaotic and perfect. The city's towers pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of a giant living being. He had never seen anything so beautiful, so alive. "Do all of your people look like you?" he asked cautiously. Ilara's glow shifted slightly. We are many forms, but we share understanding. Appearance is not important to us. Actions, thoughts, and the will to maintain harmony define us. And now you, human, are here. You are unusual in that you act with courage and care, even when no one else watches. That is why you are of interest to me. Elias swallowed hard. I don't understand. Why me? Because your kind has potential, she said. Potential you have not yet realized. Humans are unpredictable. You make choices that no other species would consider. That unpredictability can be dangerous, yes, but it can also be powerful. You will show me what your species can truly offer. Elias frowned. But I am just one person. I am small compared to all of this. Elara's light shifted to a gentle pulse, and he felt her thoughts as clearly as spoken words. It is not the size of one life, human. It is the courage and wisdom within it that matters. You will see soon. They began walking along the floating path, and Elias noticed that each step seemed to respond to him. The light beneath his feet brightened as he moved, as if the city itself recognized him. They passed floating gardens, streams of glowing water, and creatures interacting in ways that seemed impossible yet natural. This world is alive, Elias said, awe breaking through his words. It feels aware of me. Yes, Elara said. It knows who enters and what they bring. You bring curiosity and courage. That is why you have been drawn here. As they moved deeper into the city, Elias noticed smaller beings observing him. They did not hide, nor did they flee. Instead, they approached cautiously, studying him with intelligent eyes. Some of them reached out with delicate tendrils or light currents touching the air around him. He realized he was being measured not for harm but for understanding. Do they trust me? He asked. They are cautious, as all intelligent beings must be, Elara explained. Trust is earned. You will earn it through action, thought, and compassion. You will need these qualities soon, human, for challenges will come that cannot be solved by strength alone. Elias felt a mixture of pride and fear. He had spent years facing dangers alone, relying on his instincts and training, but this world was different. Here he would need more than physical skill. He would need understanding, patience, and imagination. Elara guided him to a chamber at the heart of the city, a place that seemed to hum with energy. Crystal structures rose like trees, glowing with internal light, and streams of liquid energy flowed between them, carrying information and life force throughout the city. She stopped in front of a pedestal that projected 3 glowing orbs into the air. These are the trials of insight, she said. They are not tests of strength. They are challenges of perception, courage, and moral choice. Every being in my world must pass them to serve and protect this city, and you must pass them to prove that humans are capable of understanding us and perhaps to prepare for a future where humans and my people can work together. Elias approached cautiously. The orbs shimmered with shifting colors, each one presenting a different scene. The first orb showed a simulation of a collapsing structure. Tiny beings were trapped inside, and Elias realized he needed to find a way to save them. The simulation moved faster than reality, and he had only moments to act. Thinking quickly, Elias directed energy currents around the trapped beings, guiding them safely out of the collapsing space. The orb pulsed with bright light, approving his choice. He felt a thrill, a spark of satisfaction. He had used his human ingenuity and calm thinking under pressure. The second orb presented a moral dilemma. A group of beings was in danger, but saving them would risk harm to others. Elias felt panic rising in his chest, but he remembered Elara's words about courage and compassion. He took a deep breath and found a solution that minimized harm, using creativity rather than force. Again, the orb brightened, acknowledging his success. The third orb was different. It showed him a reflection of his own fears, loneliness, and doubt. He saw himself small and fragile, struggling against impossible odds. The orb demanded something he had never faced before, acceptance of his own vulnerabilities. Elias hesitated, then reached out, embracing his fears rather than fighting them. The orb glowed warmly, and he felt a deep sense of relief. Elara's presence moved closer. You have shown curiosity, courage, and understanding. You have faced challenge, danger, and yourself. These are the qualities that matter most in my world. Elias exhaled, feeling a weight lift from his chest. I did not know I could do these things, he admitted. You did them because it was necessary, Elara replied. Not because you sought reward, but because it was the right choice. That is what makes humans extraordinary. Elias felt a strange warmth spread through him. For the first time in years, he felt capable, meaningful, and seen. The emptiness that had haunted him on lonely nights aboard the Odyssey was beginning to fade. He realized he was not just a visitor here. He had a role to play, one that required his unique perspective, courage, and compassion. They left the chamber together, walking along a bridge of light that twisted high above the city. The floating gardens below glimmered with life, and the beings of the city observed them, curious but respectful. Elias felt a bond forming, not only with Ilara but with this entire world. "Why me?" he asked again softly. "Because your species has the potential to be a bridge," Ilara said. "A bridge between worlds, between understanding and action, between courage and compassion. You will see more in time, human. But for now, rest. You have taken your first steps, and they have been important." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of exhaustion, wonder, and hope all at once. As he lay down to rest, he realized that he no longer felt entirely alone. The city pulsed around him, alive and aware, and Ilara's presence was steady and comforting. For the first time in a long time, he felt a spark of belonging. Outside, the alien city continued to breathe, watch, and pulse with energy. And inside, a human man who had slept with an empty heart began to awaken. Not fully yet, but in small, undeniable ways, to the possibility that he was part of something greater. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, dangers, and choices that would test him in ways he had never imagined. But Elias Vorn felt something he had not felt in a long time. The first stirrings of hope, courage, and purpose. And in that moment, as the city glimmered and the Queen's presence lingered nearby, he understood that he had begun to belong to a world far beyond Earth, and perhaps to a future he had never dared to dream. Elias awoke to a subtle vibration in the city. At first, he thought it was part of the living structures, the usual pulsing hum of energy that had become familiar. But then he noticed the lights shifting in unusual patterns, warning signals that even Ilara could not hide. Something was wrong. He stepped out of the chamber, and the Queen appeared almost instantly at his side. Her glow was calmer than the city's, but her thoughts carried urgency. "There is a threat," she said. "A faction from beyond this sector has noticed our activity. They seek to control, to dominate, and they will not pause for hesitation." Elias's heart quickened. "They attack? Can we stop them?" "We can," Ilara replied, "but we must act quickly and wisely. They underestimate the courage and ingenuity of your species. That is why you will help." Elias swallowed hard. For the first time since arriving in this world, he felt real fear, not just for himself but for the city that had welcomed him, for the creatures who had observed him with trust, and for the Queen herself. Yet alongside fear was determination. He had faced impossible odds before, alone on his ship, surviving storms, pirates, and deadly systems. Perhaps he could help here too. The city's towers began to shift their forms, defensive structures rising from the ground like crystalline armor. Energy fields flashed and pulsed across bridges and streets, but Ilara explained that their strength alone would not suffice. "The attackers are advanced. They rely on raw power, speed, and overwhelming force. They do not think as we do. They do not expect ingenuity. That is where you, human, will be most valuable." Elias felt both pressure and pride. He knew his human experience, quick thinking, improvisation, and creativity under stress would be his greatest weapon. "What do I do?" he asked. Ilara led him to a central tower that overlooked the city's perimeter. From there, Elias could see small ships emerging from a hidden rift at the edge of the system. They were sleek, metallic, and armed with energy weapons capable of devastating the city. Hundreds of them moved with precision, their formations intimidating in their uniformity. "They rely on predictability," Ilara said, her thoughts reaching him. "They assume we will respond as they do, with force and repetition. Humans, however, are unpredictable." Elias studied the enemy ships, his mind racing. On his long journeys through space, he had learned to read patterns, to anticipate behavior, and to act faster than technology could expect. He noticed gaps in their formation, small blind spots that the attackers had overlooked. With Ilara's guidance, he began to plan. "Use their assumptions against them," she instructed. "Do not fight like they fight. Think like a human." He nodded. A strategy began to form. He instructed the city's defensive units to create illusions, projecting false positions and decoys in patterns the attackers would interpret as vulnerabilities. He manipulated energy currents, creating diversions, guiding enemy ships into traps. Every move relied on timing, observation, and quick adaptation, the essence of human ingenuity. The first wave of attackers reached the city's outer barrier. Energy blasts rippled through the air, but they hit illusions, harmless projections that confused and slowed the enemy. Elias watched as small alien defenders moved to reinforce the lines, their movements precise but slower than he expected. He realized he needed to combine his speed of thought with the Queen's technology. Quickly, he directed energy fields to shift dynamically, opening new paths and closing old ones. The enemy ships faltered, crashing into their own formations or becoming entangled in redirected energy currents. Elias felt a surge of adrenaline, the thrill of using his human skills to change the tide of battle. Elara observed silently, her presence steadying him. "You act with courage," she said, "and with clarity. That is why you were brought here." Despite his success, Elias knew the enemy would adapt. A second wave approached, larger and more organized. He could see that brute force alone would not defeat them. He needed something more. He recalled an old tactic from Earth, a way to turn an enemy's strength against itself. Observing the attackers, he noticed their weapons relied on synchronized energy pulses. If he could disrupt the timing of just a few ships in the right position, the effect could cascade, disabling the rest. It was risky. Failure could mean catastrophe for the city, but hesitation was worse. "Prepare the central energy conduits," he instructed the Queen's engineers, his voice calm but firm. "Channel them into the attack vectors but delay the main flow. Use the attacker's synchronization against them." Elara's glow brightened in approval. "Clever," she thought. "Your species does indeed surprise us." The plan unfolded. Energy fields flared and shifted with precision, guided by Elias's quick calculations. The enemy ships entered the trap, their own pulses interfering with each other. One by one they lost coordination, crashing into space debris or into one another. The city's defenses remained unharmed. Elias felt a rush of triumph, but he did not celebrate. He knew the battle was not over. A final wave, larger than all the rest, moved through the rift. This time the attackers were smarter, cautious, adjusting to the city's defenses. Elias had only moments to act. He looked to Elara. "We need a new approach," he said. "We can't fight them directly. We need to think beyond force." The Queen's thoughts responded immediately. "And what do you propose, human?" Elias focused. He remembered his early years on Earth, navigating asteroid fields and derelict stations, improvising solutions when technology failed. He realized that humans had an advantage that even the most advanced aliens sometimes overlooked: adaptability. While technology could predict patterns, humans could respond to chaos. "Create corridors," he said, pointing toward the central towers. "Let them come in, but not where we expect. Use the city's living structures to guide them into neutral zones. Then we isolate them." Elara nodded, trusting him. The city shifted as he suggested. Paths of light and energy rerouted the attackers, her living structures bending naturally to his plan. It was not a direct confrontation, it was a puzzle, and Elias was the solver. The enemy ships, expecting a simple battle, became trapped in a maze of energy streams and living structures. Confused and unable to coordinate, they were neutralized without significant harm to the city. Elias breathed deeply, feeling the thrill of success and the satisfaction of using his mind rather than sheer power. When the final attackers were gone, silence returned to the city. The towers glimmered softly. The creatures moved carefully, observing the aftermath. Elias floated above the streets, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced real danger and emerged not only alive but triumphant. Elara approached, her presence gentle yet commanding. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown courage, quick thinking, and compassion. Your species is unpredictable, yes, but also capable of extraordinary achievement. You see possibilities where others see only obstacles. That is why you are here." Elias felt a warmth spread through him, a mix of pride, relief, and belonging. I only did what I could. I didn't want anyone to be hurt." "That is what makes humans remarkable," Elara replied. "Not strength, not technology, but heart. You act because it is right, even when it is difficult. That is what your species can offer the galaxy." Elias smiled, feeling a spark of hope he had not felt in years. The emptiness that had once haunted him, the loneliness that had seemed unending, was fading. He had discovered a place where he mattered, where his actions made a difference, where courage and ingenuity were valued. But he also knew the peace was temporary. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns and challenges. He had faced one enemy today, but tomorrow could bring another, more powerful threat. Yet for the first time, Elias felt ready, not just to survive, but to act, to protect, and to lead when needed. As he floated above the city, watching the living towers pulse with calm light, he realized something profound. His journey had begun as a lonely exploration, a search for meaning. Now it had become something far greater. He was not just a human far from Earth. He was a bridge between worlds, a proof that courage, ingenuity, and heart could change even the course of the galaxy. And in the quiet aftermath, the alien queen's presence close by, Elias finally understood. His empty heart had begun to fill. Not with comfort or illusion, but with purpose, connection, and the knowledge that he could face the unknown and prevail, not because he was stronger, but because he was human. The galaxy was wide, strange, and often dangerous. But Elias Vorn had learned that being human, curious, brave, and clever, was a power the universe had not yet fully seen. And that power, he realized, was only just beginning to awaken. The city was quiet after the recent attack. The living structures pulsed softly and the air shimmered with calm energy. Elias moved through the floating paths, feeling more at home than he had on any planet in his life. The city had become familiar, the way the paths responded to his steps, the creatures observing him with cautious respect, and Ilara always nearby, her glow guiding and comforting him. "You acted well," Ilara said as she joined him on a high bridge of light. Her voice reached him through thought, warm and steady. "You did not just survive, you understood." Elias nodded, feeling a swell of pride. "It was unexpected," he admitted, "but I had to try. I couldn't let anyone be hurt." "That is the essence of humanity," she said. "You act out of care, not for recognition or power. That quality is rare in the galaxy. It is what makes you capable of building bridges between worlds." Elias felt a strange warmth as he looked at her. Ilara was magnificent, her form radiant and commanding, yet she was patient and kind. He realized he had begun to care, not just for her, but for the city and its inhabitants, for everything she protected. For the first time, he felt a connection that went deeper than curiosity or duty. Over the next days, he explored more of the city under her guidance. They visited areas filled with glowing flora, energy streams that carried knowledge, and creatures that moved in patterns he could not have imagined. Ilara taught him to read the rhythms of her world, to feel its pulse, to notice the subtle shifts of thought in the living structures, and to anticipate changes in the environment. "You see differently than we do," she said one evening as they stood over a floating garden. "You notice small details, possibilities that escape even my people. That is why humans are valuable." Elias smiled. "It's instinct, I guess. Humans, yeah, we adapt. We find ways to survive and understand." She tilted her head, her glow softening. "And you care. That is what makes you extraordinary." As they spent time together, Elias and Ilara's bond deepened. They spoke of their pasts, not in words, but in thoughts and images. Elias shared memories of Earth, its oceans, forests, cities, and the people he had loved and lost. Ilara shared the history of her people, their struggles to maintain balance and peace across countless worlds. Despite their differences, they found understanding and respect. One day, while observing a floating stream of energy, Elias noticed Ilara hesitating, her glow dimming slightly. "What troubles you?" he asked. "There are choices ahead," she admitted. "Even with your help, the galaxy is vast and full of dangers. Alliances must be formed, and conflicts may arise that test us both. You will face decisions that will challenge your courage, your heart, and your loyalty." Elias took her hand, or what he understood as her hand. "Then we will face them together," he said. "I've learned to act with care, and I won't let fear stop me." Her glow brightened, and Elias felt a warmth that went beyond friendship. In that moment, he realized that his loneliness, the emptiness he had felt for so long, was gone. He had found a purpose, a companion, and a place where his abilities mattered. He had begun to awaken in ways he had never imagined. But the peace was temporary. Ilara's words lingered in his mind. The galaxy was vast, and challenges lay ahead. Their bond, strong as it had become, would soon be tested. Elias understood that courage alone would not suffice. He would need ingenuity, empathy, and wisdom to protect the people and world he had come to love. As the sun-like energy of the city pulsed around them, Elias and Ilara stood together, ready to face whatever the galaxy would bring next. The bond forged between human and queen, between species and heart, was now a force stronger than fear, stronger than uncertainty. And it was only the beginning. The enemy had retreated, but the threat of future attacks lingered like a shadow over the city. Ilara and Elias spent days strategizing and reinforcing defenses, knowing that vigilance would be their constant companion. Yet amid the preparations, Elias continued to grow in confidence and skill. He understood the rhythms of the city, the flows of energy, and the subtle ways its living structures could be directed without harm. Humans think in ways that even my people cannot always anticipate, Ilara said one day as they observed training exercises. Your creativity, your ability to act under pressure, it is unmatched. Elias felt pride, but he remained humble. I just respond to what's needed, that's all. One morning, a larger threat appeared. A fleet from the rival faction that had attacked before, this time far more organized and numerous. Their weapons gleamed in the distant light, and Elias could feel the tension in the city's pulse. This would be the greatest challenge yet. We must act quickly, Ilara said. This is not a battle of strength alone. It is a test of strategy, courage, and collaboration. Are you ready, human? Elias nodded. We'll need to think differently, move differently. They expect force, but we can use intelligence. The city transformed under their command. Energy conduits redirected flows, paths shifted in real time, and illusions scattered across the sky. Elias coordinated with the Queen's defenders, using human ingenuity to exploit patterns in the enemy fleet. He anticipated their maneuvers, guided allies through complex sequences, and devised traps that relied on creativity rather than raw power. The enemy faltered. Their formations broke under unexpected diversions, their attacks misaligned by the human mind's unpredictability. One by one, ships were neutralized, not destroyed, but redirected into harmless zones where they could be captured or disarmed. Elias worked tirelessly, sweat and focus etched on his face, his heart pounding with adrenaline. He realized that his species' greatest strength was not the weapons he carried, but the ability to think, adapt, and act with courage under pressure. As the battle reached its climax, Elias noticed the enemy flagship attempting to escape through a rift. He devised a daring plan. Using a combination of city energy fields and decoy pathways, he would isolate the ship, cutting off its retreat. Ilara trusted him, allowing him to direct the city's resources with precision. The plan succeeded. The flagship was trapped and its crew surrendered. The city's defenders cheered, their relief mingling with admiration for the human who had turned chaos into victory. Elias allowed himself a rare smile, feeling accomplishment but also humility. Ilara approached him, her glow radiant with pride. You have done more than survive, she said. You have led, protected, and inspired. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but you have shown that your courage, wisdom, and heart can shape the galaxy. Elias felt a deep warmth as he looked at her. I didn't do it alone, he said. Your world, your people, they trusted me and we worked together. Trust, Ilara replied, is earned through action. You have earned it fully, and now you have proven that humans can be allies, companions, and protectors across the stars. For the first time, Elias felt complete, not empty, not alone. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and had emerged stronger. He had discovered that courage and heart mattered more than strength alone, and that humans could be catalysts for extraordinary change. The city pulsed around him, alive and aware, celebrating not only the victory, but the bond between species that had made it possible. Creatures of light and energy floated near, their curiosity tempered by respect. And Ilara, the queen who had once seemed untouchable, now stood beside him as an equal, a companion, and perhaps something more. Elias realized that his journey, which had begun with loneliness and emptiness, had transformed into something far greater. He had found purpose, belonging, and connection. He had awakened in a world beyond Earth, and in doing so had discovered the true measure of humanity. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike, but Elias Vorn knew that being human, curious, courageous, and compassionate, was a force the universe had not yet fully seen. And together with the alien queen, he was ready to face the future, whatever it might bring. As he stood beside her, feeling the living pulse of the city, Elias understood one simple truth. He no longer slept with an empty heart. He had awakened fully to the possibilities of courage, connection, and hope. And this was only the beginning.